Hey everyone, it's Charelle Hadrick, and I'm very excited to share some of the key takeaways from my expert interview. So let's get started. I interviewed Mary Alice Riley, who is a community engagement specialist for DC Greens. In the beginning of our interview, she began by discussing her educational background and previous work experience. She received her BA in Environmental Studies from Brown University, and a large part of her curriculum consisted of both academic and fieldwork components focused on conducting community-based research and service on sustainable food and farming. She noted that one large takeaway from undergrad was how to get multiple forms of feedback from participants being studied and or benefiting from program services. She also managed farmers markets in underserved communities in DC with the nonprofit organization Dreaming Out Loud, where she worked with farmers to help sell and distribute their food and with community members to increase their access to food and educate them on the benefits of the foods available at these markets. When asked what motivated her to work in the nutritional field, Mary described the needs she saw in her neighborhood that largely lacked access to affordable healthy foods and how this affected members in her community. She has always had an affinity for helping others, and she immediately found a passion for doing work to address the needs she saw. She said that food is universal. Everyone needs it to survive, and described working in food access programs as a gateway to opening a dialogue with all types of people, forming partnerships with others in the nutritional field, and a never-ending opportunity to learn about people and from people. She described this experience as continuously enriching and fulfilling. We spent the majority of our interview discussing Mary's current role and responsibilities at DC Greens. DC Greens is a nonprofit organization with the mission statement of levering food education, food access, and food policy to advance food justice in the nation's capital. As a community engagement specialist for DC Greens, Mary is primarily responsible for recruiting, training, and coordinating volunteers across multiple nutrition program sites to perform essential tasks. She also establishes leadership among staffers on the ground that work within the community to provide support, engagement, and nutritional resources. Mary also plays a significant role in program design, implementation, and evaluation. Programs typically run seasonally, with planning beginning in the winter and early spring, implementation in the spring and summer, and evaluation in the fall. She spends roughly 3 to 6 months planning, co-creating plans with staff, setting up program expectations, and roles for each staff member. Evaluation begins during the implementation of the program. They utilize an electronic feedback system to regularly collect volunteer feedback, typically hearing from between 20 and 30 volunteers weekly. Her team of community engagement specialists also visit sites to speak to volunteers, staffers, and participants for feedback. Post-program evaluation typically assesses factors such as the hours staff members worked and how many sites they visited, quantitative figures to calculate how much was accomplished, and qualitative data such as personal experience, interpersonal conflicts, and information from written reports. They also conduct a debriefing with all stakeholders present to discuss what went well and what needs improvement. Lastly, I'll leave you with a quote from Mary when asked if she had any advice for future nutrition educators. Diet and eating habits are very vulnerable and personal and cultural experiences for a lot of humans. They can also be traumatic, disordered body image, and disordered eating. They're also shaped by people's power and/or oppression. And for me as a community engagement specialist, so much of interpersonal interactions with people in the community requires an enhanced level of mindfulness and intentionality that parallels that of a therapist. I would encourage nutrition educators to really engage their clients in individual and group settings and establish relationships that allow you to understand their eating behaviors and decisions, as they might help you find better ways to change them.